We're the St. Robert Bellarmine Youth Group from Freehold, New Jersey,
connecting faith and life.
And you're watching Real Faith TV! Woo!
To have self-confidence means to love yourself no matter what anyone says about you and tries to bring you down.
You being able to say, I can do it, it's okay, like, I know I have the talent, the skill, or whatever it is to do the task at hand.
You always want some humility. You don't want to ever be overconfident. You don't want to ever be arrogant or anything like that. You always want to have a perfect balance between humility and self-confidence.
There's actually a huge difference between being self-confident and self-conceited, because self-confidence is being comfortable in your own body and being able to be yourself around people and not caring about what other people think about you. And then being conceited is thinking you're better than someone, so thinking you're better than everyone else and being having too much confidence.
It's a step beyond self-confidence, more like I'm better than you at whatever it is. So you don't want to be self-conceited in life, you want to be self-confident. You want to be like, I can do it, I know that I can, not I can do it better than you.
Well, I think that people struggle with self-confidence because they really compare themselves to others, but they really shouldn't take their self-image into consideration with other people's.
Yeah, I like to think I'm self-confident. I think I really gained my self-confidence freshman year when I first tried out for the musical. I never tried out for a show before. Once I tried out and once I was in the show and performed, I realized I enjoyed it a lot.
I consider myself self-confident because I do act the same way around everyone, whether it's around strangers or friends or family.
Well, I think that I've built up my self-confidence through piano. I've been playing for almost 9 years, and because I perform so often, I think it's really built up my self-confidence.
I feel like we get our self-confidence from role models. So for me, I get mine from my mom and my brothers because they always teach me you should always feel good in your own skin and you should be proud of yourself. Confidence is important because it doesn't allow others to get to your head and it helps you be the best you can be no matter what.
You know what, you seem like a confident person, Emily.
Yeah, I guess I am, Alec. Thanks.
Well, I consider myself, I guess, somewhat confident, you know.
Good, you should be. For some of us, especially as young people, having confidence in ourselves, whether it comes to socializing, trying new things, or just achieving what we set our minds to, can be daunting.
It's easy for us to get mixed up in how the world defines confidence, which oftentimes shows us empowerment through things like money, sex, drugs, or alcohol.
It's no wonder that so many young people struggle with having a positive self-image when they feel like they don't measure up to what's trending on Facebook or Instagram.
It is only when we bring our faith into these situations that we find where true confidence comes from.
Be yourself, self-confidence. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Emily.
And I'm Alec.
And this is Real Faith TV.
We'd like to thank the youth group from St. Robert Bellarmine Parish in Freehold, New Jersey for helping us open our show today.
And for sharing what it means to them to be self-confident.
We'll hear more from them as part of our wildcard segments throughout the show. But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Rachel.
As a former Real Faith TV host and current college student, she'll discuss what being self-confident means to her.
And how the people we surround ourselves with can help us shape that confidence.
When you say you have self-confidence, I think it means that you have confidence in your abilities and your talents, and it also means that you present yourself very positively when you're around other people. Whether it's an interview or with your teachers, your friends, it's just really important to be confident in who you are. If you're not confident in who you are, you can't be confident in other people, and you have to come to that kind of peace and love within yourself in order to inspire that in others. And then it's kind of a chain reaction where if I love myself, I can inspire you to love yourself, and it goes on and on and on. I think it's important to be yourself because I found many times, like in high school, when you're trying to fit in and you're trying to find friends who will accept you, you often find yourself shaping into a person that you're really not. And then when you get so far into those friendships, you realize, wow, I'm with these people who don't even like me for me. And it's a really crappy feeling, and it's definitely not the kind of friends you want to surround yourself with. And I found as I became more of myself and more confident in my faith and in who I was and my abilities and my talents, I found that I was finding more friends who were like me and who supported me for who I was. We have to make the decision if we want to be confident, if we want to work toward our confidence, because it's really easy to feel crappy about yourself and sit in the corner in self-pity. And I know we all have those moments where we just need to escape the world, escape our problems, and just sit on the couch and eat Ben & Jerry's. It's totally a thing. But I think we all have to make the decision to get back up again and to see the light within ourselves and to surround ourselves with people who also see that light and who can help us get us back on our feet. Because, I mean, all throughout life, whether you're in middle school, high school, college, adult, you're always going to go through periods where you definitely don't feel self-confident. And it's really important to work to get through those periods. I think that we all have moments where we're comparing ourselves to others, and I think that we have to consciously make a decision. Am I going to let this, comparison kind of steal my joy, or am I going to decide to rise above it and be confident in myself? And I find myself struggling with that a lot, but always kind of making the decision to get past it. And I feel like it's something that we all can choose to do and to practice.
I loved how Rachel said that in order to find confidence in others, you have to first find it inside yourself. I think that's such an important part as teenagers, that in order to trust others fully, we have to trust ourselves first.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with her when she says it's a good confident booster when you're around people who are like you, of the same faith, and they like the same things as you.
Exactly. Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are
Paul,
Emily,
Lauren,
Mateo,
and Ira. Do you guys consider yourself to be self-confident, and why?
I feel that I have a lot of confidence when I'm trying to try something new, and I also feel that I have enough courage to focus on what I really need to focus on and accomplish my goals. So.
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I'm just comfortable with myself. I think in the past I never was, but I think recently I've just learned to accept myself, and this is who I am, this is how God made me, so I've accepted that.
A part of growing older and having more maturity is becoming more comfortable with yourself and who you are. And with more life experiences, it just becomes easier.
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty confident person too. I'm a camp counselor, so you have to have that confidence to lead kids and show them the right way and have them have confidence in themselves. So you really have to be a role model, and to have that strength, you have to be confident in yourself.
I guess I am sort of confident in all that because I'm a performer and all that, and to get up in front of people, I guess it takes a lot of confidence to do something like that.
It definitely does.
Many of us tend to rely on our abilities to enable confidence.
This can cause problems where there is a change in what we are able and not able to do.
If a football player bases his confidence on his ability to play the game, what happens when he's injured and out for the entire season?
If a singer bases her confidence on her ability to sing, what happens when a bad head cold makes her unable to perform a show?
This could lead to our confidence being shattered and lead us to lose faith in ourselves.
Our confidence cannot be placed in whether we're good at something or not. It's got to be placed in God.
Let's meet our first wildcard guest, Darlene, a member of St. Robert Bellarmine Youth Group.
She'll share how concerns about her height caused her to be self-conscious and lack self-confidence.
So for most of my life, I've always been tall and just taller than average, and that's because my mom's 5'6" and my dad's 6'6", so I was deemed to be tall. It wasn't until freshman year of high school when I realized I was super tall and taller than all the guys and all my friends, and I would take pictures with my friends at social gatherings or hang out with them, and I realized how much taller I was. I felt like a giant towards them. So it started to kick in that I was super tall and I didn't like this. I wanted to be average height, 5'8", and I kept growing, and right now I'm 6'1". I'm not super self-conscious, but I'm still a little conscious about my height, even though I should be thankful that I'm tall. I definitely growing into my height and learning to love my height And like my mom always tells me like to love my like height and stuff like that. She's trying to just help me out like because like being tall is like a good thing, but like I don't know. I get like really like conscious sometimes because I hate being like standing out in the crowd and just like being the tallest person. But I think as I get older, I'm gonna like enjoy being tall and I'm gonna love being tall and I'll stop being like self-conscious about it. But yeah.
Next, our Spotlight guest, Rachel, discusses some of the tools she uses when struggling with self-confidence.
And how putting her trust in God helps her to know that she can be confident in herself despite her failings.
Some of the tools I use when I'm struggling with self-confidence is definitely prayer. I'll go to adoration or I'll just sit down and in quiet or with some music and just reflect on God's love for me and reflect on my imperfections too, because it would be silly to acknowledge that we don't have imperfections because we all do. And just being aware of those and acknowledging those and trying to work on your imperfections, I think, is really something that helps build my confidence. Listening to positive music, that always builds me up. I love the happy song, that's a good one. Talking to people who love you and like your family, your parents. If I'm not feeling good about an exam or about, just like having a bad body positive image day, I'll talk to my parents and I'll see how, like the good qualities in me. And then the last thing I would do is kind of do a social media cleanse because it really sometimes is draining to look at all those images of people, putting their best foot forward, or if they're, doctored images, photoshopped. So sometimes just closing down Instagram or Twitter or any social media and really just focusing on not comparing yourself to anyone else. I think comparison really is the thief of confidence because when we compare ourselves to other people, we're thinking about all the things that we're not, and we're not focusing on all the great qualities that we have. And it's those qualities that we only possess that really will give us confidence because it makes us who we are. Putting your trust in something greater than you are always just helps me in times of stress, in times of anxiety. God's an eternal source of love and grace and mercy. So when we put our confidence in God, we're putting our confidence in something that will never fail us. I think sometimes it's definitely difficult to put confidence in God. Sometimes I just forget, sometimes I'm really caught up in just like self-pity or I'm just really feeling negative. But I know for me, like when I go to adoration sometimes and I sit there and I'll listen to music, like worship music, and I really just feel God's love. And I feel like that love isn't it like an eternal love. That I feel so surrounded by, and it gives me so much confidence to go into an exam or something like that. And it reminds me that if I fail this test, if I do well on this test, like God still loves me.
So do you put your confidence in God, and why? How does that help you?
I put my confidence in God because I know that He's going to lead me on the right path, and He's going to get me to go wherever I need to get. So I feel that's really special.
God has a plan for all of us, so I think putting our confidence in God should just help us more to realize, like, whatever happens, it's because God has a plan for us. So if He closes one door, it's to open a better door ahead of us.
I'm a competitive swimmer, so whenever I'm about to race, I always offer a short prayer to God and ask Him to be with me, whether I do well in my race or whether I do really poorly, so I'm confident. And it really helps me while I'm racing and afterward, no matter what kind of results I had, I know it's okay and I keep my confidence with me.
Mm-hmm. We have a tremendous dignity and value. Each of us is unique and unrepeatable.
We are known and loved by God. Like David wrote in Psalm 139,
"You formed my inmost being. You knit me in my mother's womb.
I praise you because I am wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works.
My very self you know."
David understood that his confidence came from God and was empowered to give back, to do more, to be better.
Let's meet our second wildcard guest, Mallory.
She'll share how her experience playing softball has helped her develop a better sense of confidence in herself,
which has in turn greatly improved her performance out on the field.
I've been playing softball for a really long time, and self-confidence is really important in the game. It was just a few weeks ago when I was in the outfield and I let a ball go right over my shoulder, but I really couldn't let that error affect me during the game. So the next time that a ball was hit to the outfield, I made sure that I was under it. I learned my self-confidence through my first coach, and he really taught me that softball was a mind game and I had to be set with my confidence wherever I was playing the entire game. Without it, I would make an error. it really is important with whatever you do.
As a softball player myself, I completely agree with what Mallory's saying. Being part of a team, you have to be confident that you're going to get the job done, and that goes with anything that we have to do in our life.
Yeah, I mean, definitely confidence would help you to do things better. So if you were more confident in yourself, you could accomplish a lot more.
And you know that because of performing. Next, Rachel talks with us about the importance of building up others' self-confidence.
And the difference between being confident and being conceited.
I actually think building someone up is one of the greatest things that we can do. I know that it's always a struggle, we see somebody who's lonely, someone who doesn't fit in, and obviously they're lacking self-confidence, and just to go up to somebody and be give them a compliment or to invite them to come and hang out with your friends, I feel like that really builds someone's confidence, and it really builds your own confidence. And I don't feel that confidence is ever in competition. I feel like if anything, it's complementary. Your confidence will complement mine, and so on and so forth. I don't think humility really takes away from self-confidence. I think that humility and self-confidence can kind of work in tandem with each other. You have self-confidence in the middle, and then you have conceit and humility. And you can either take your self-confidence one way, like overly about yourself, or take it the other way and kind of be confident in yourself, but be willing to serve others, which I think is the definition of humility. So I think that you can 100% be confident in who you are, but still really focus on putting others first and really building other people up. Because once you find that peace in yourself, it's easier to build up other people. I think being conceited definitely means being prideful, and that's when you're kind of overconfident in yourself and you're bragging to people to the point where people don't really want to hang out with you. I think we know a lot of people who are conceited, who talk about themselves all the time, and while it's great to be confident in our abilities and our talents and stuff like that, we also have to remember to ask others about their talents and abilities, and we don't want to take away from others and make everything about ourselves. Confidence is contagious for sure. I know that when I see someone who's really confident, it really makes me want to try to be confident, even when I'm struggling. And just having confidence is really gives you power over a situation, and it really makes you feel strong in your decisions, and it really makes you feel strong in who you are.
So how can we build confidence with our peers? Can you say a time that you helped build the confidence of a friend?
There was a time when my friend was a little bit scared to take this test. It was on one of the midterms, and all of the other classes that we had were pretty tough. So I told her, just relax and do it, because if you think about it too much and if you really worry about it, you're not going to do as well.
Mm-hmm. I think if you see that somebody tried at something or went out of their way, whether it was performing or doing whatever, if you see that they tried and they made an effort, just to compliment them on it, so that they kind of keep their confidence, because if somebody doesn't recognize that, then I think they might lose their confidence.
I love what she said about confidence being contagious. So if you show confidence in others and in yourself, I think it can just start a chain reaction.
I can actually agree with what you said, Lauren, about performing. My school every Friday, the choir classes have solo day where you perform in front of your class, and a lot of times people are nervous to go up, and sometimes not everyone pays attention, so you kind of build walls and you don't want to go up and put yourself out there. But a couple of times, sometimes freshmen go up, and it's such a good thing when they go up because they don't know anyone really, but they're putting themselves out there and becoming confident. And when they come down off the stage, we all say good job, you did amazing, and they come back next week with another song, and they want to keep putting themselves out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to make them feel good about themselves so they feel confident to express themselves. Because if you put people down, then they're just going to feel bad about themselves, and they're going to lose their confidence.
Exactly. Sometimes we get the sense from other Christians that it is not good to accept affirmation for our gifts or appearance or whatever we may receive a compliment on.
We may even think that it is Christian to be self-deprecating, to purposely put ourselves down.
This gets labeled as humility, but that is actually a false sense of humility.
Humility acknowledges God's greatness and our reliance on Him.
You can be humble and confident. You can accept affirmation from others and give the glory to God for creating you this way.
You can be encouraged that you are making God proud by serving Him and sharing who you are with others.
Our third wildcard guest is Gianna.
She'll share a time with us when her God-given self-confidence helped her during a dance competition.
Let's hear her now.
So every year when I dance and compete, the first competition it was more scary than the others because it's the first time I'm performing on stage. And this year during my hip hop dance, at one point I messed up the arms and I just forgot a small part of the arms. And more into the dance, I was worrying about it. I was like, I messed up. This is ridiculous. I ruined it. But then when we got to a certain part, I realized that it was just a small point and it really isn't that big of a deal. And my self-confidence really helped me move on and complete the dance perfectly.
Are there any tools you use to help you when your self-confidence begins to falter?
I trust my loved ones when my self-confidence begins to falter. I know they know what's best for me, and I know that they can always pick me up when I'm feeling down.
I just really use relaxation when my self-confidence begins to falter. I feel that kind of calms me down, and I don't feel really stressed about anything. So
you have to think positive when you're feeling that way.
I can agree with Rachel, how she said that she listens to positive music, and happy is one of them that really boosts her confidence and gets her in a smiley mood. I can totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think just stopping to think hey, I can do this. Just stopping and taking a break can help you boost it a lot more. And just thinking positive things.
Something I like to do is just take a break from whatever I'm doing and playing the piano because it distracts me and helps me kind of recharge my confidence if it ever goes down.
This might sound materialistic, but if you dress up and look nice and then you go out with your friends, I think if they're positive and you're positive, you feel better about yourself.
We all have our own ways of helping our self-confidence. It's important not to place our confidence in the things of the world, which are passing.
We should put all of our confidence in Jesus.
Finally, our spotlight guest, Rachel, explains why Jesus exemplifies confidence to her.
And how we can look to him as a role model for his humility and trust in God's plan.
He went through his life knowing that he was to be crucified. And I just think to live knowing that took so much confidence. And when he was on the cross and when one person was like, if you're the Son of God, go and save yourself. And he was like, this is God's plan for me. And to have that confidence while people were ridiculing him, making fun of him, he didn't let that shake him. He kept going because he was so confident in God's plan for him. And I think that trait is something we can all look up to. I think Christ gives us a really good example of being self-confident and humble at the same time when he washes the disciples' feet. Because this was traditionally a role that was done by a slave. A slave would get down and clean the feet of the people at the table. But Christ gets down on his knees and he washes the disciples' feet, which is really putting himself in a position that's really being humble. He's acting as a servant, as a slave to his disciples. But he's still 100% self-confident in who he is and in God's plan for him. So I think that Christ is an amazing role model of what it means to have self-confidence, but also what it means to be humble and to put others first. One verse that really helps me to be self-confident is when in Genesis it says that we were created in God's image and likeness. And I reflect on that a lot, especially when I'm not feeling as confident, because just remembering God made me in his image and in his likeness. There's nothing wrong or bad or nothing that was a mistake in me. And I think realizing that, we really realize, wow, we're really one of a kind. And the other verse that really inspires me is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I remember repeating that before a swim meet in high school while I was on the block. And even just before a test or something, just knowing that God's not failing and that if I put my strength in him, then I will be able to complete whatever comes my way.
So how can we look to Jesus as an example when we're talking about self-confidence?
Well, I know a story. It was a story about when Jesus was a kid, when he was young. It was Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were in Jerusalem, and Mary and Joseph left, and Jesus stayed in the temple. And Mary and Joseph didn't know that. And Jesus stayed in the temple, and he was preaching to all the elders inside of the temple. And I definitely think, even as a child, Jesus showed a lot of confidence because he was able to go up in front of all the elders, and he was able to preach what he knew. He knew the scripture, and they were really impressed with him. And when his parents found him, he's like, well, you didn't know that I was in my Father's house? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I felt that I have two examples. The first one is that Jesus had a lot of self-confidence when he was carrying the cross. I felt that every time he went down, he got right back up. And he didn't let people mock. He tried not to let people get inside his head after they were mocking him. And also I felt that he had a lot of self-confidence when he was performing the miracles, like the miracle at Cana was one of them. And those are pretty inspiring, so.
Yeah, I think that when Jesus like preached to people, whether it was like the Beatitudes or whatever it was, like a lot of his ideas and views were seen as like radical for his time. So I think it took like a lot of confidence to say things like that, because people would kind of be like, oh my God, is this guy crazy? Because they weren't like what people were used to. They were a lot different, and you know, it took a lot of confidence to do that.
Yeah, I think Jesus is the best example of confidence there is, because not only did he have confidence in himself, he also had confidence in God, his Father, who sent him and changed the world. I mean, that takes a ton of confidence.
Putting our confidence in God means we will be able to handle failure and disappointment, as well as success and recognition.
We put our full trust in God, who has created us just as we are, with all our talents and quirks, strengths and weaknesses.
He looks to us and says, "You are good." He looks to us and says, "You are loved."
This should fill us with great confidence, not in ourselves, but in God, the all-powerful, all-loving Creator.
So what advice do you have for others struggling with their self-confidence?
We want to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or share your thoughts with us on Twitter.
And we'll leave you today with the words of St. Therese of Lisieux, who lovingly reflected on the idea of confidence as a gift from God.
She said, "We can never have too much confidence in the good God. As we hope in him, so shall we receive."
She also said, "It is confidence, and nothing but confidence, that must lead us to love."
She connects confidence not with her talents or abilities, but with God.
And was able to be herself primarily by loving those around her and devoting her life to Christ.
Let's try to model St. Therese and connect our confidence with God.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV. God bless.